Hi, this is Courtney with CGT Coaching, and today I'm here with Sunny for another fertility journey story. And Sunny and I connected through a mutual friend, and she has her own journey that she wanted to share with us. Um, Sunny, do you have anything that you want to say before we get started?
No, just hi.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Sunny, take me back to a time before you thought about having kids. Like, what was your idea of or perception of what that process would be like for you?
Um, I've been with my husband since high school,
Mm.
and we started talking about kids right away. Not that we were going to have them right away, but that it was going to be a possibility for us.
Okay.
And it was when we decide to, when we're going to, it's going to be, quick and easy, and we'll do the thing. And
Right.
a baby will follow 9 months later. There was never too much more thought other than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in high school, they just kind of teach us like just how things work in a very clinical way, and then they tell you how not to get pregnant, but
Right,
they never actually go through what things look like to get pregnant, right?
right.
Like you feel like, and in all the movies and TV shows too, it's like, oh, magically, so
Yeah,
easily, I'm pregnant, right?
they like decide to have kids, and then the screen goes to black and 9 months later, and then there's a baby, right?
Exactly. Or it's a bunch of people that didn't mean to get pregnant in the first place, and they're like, oh, I'm pregnant, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So when you did get to that point where you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to have kids. So when was that, and what was that process like for you?
Um, a few years into being together, we basically just decided I would go off the pill. We weren't trying or anything, but I wasn't on the pill. So I probably was only on the pill for about maybe 3 or 4 years, and even then it wasn't regular. So I went off, and then nothing happened. Nothing happened. We got married, and everyone, oh yeah, 9 months from tonight, there's gonna be a baby.
Right.
Right. It hadn't happened before that, so we weren't holding our breath at that point. After we got married, we thought, let's kind of look into this.
Yeah.
So we started looking, we did some tests, both of us did, and saw a fertility doctor and everything. Um, and it just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening easy. They didn't really give us any answers. I was diagnosed with PCOS, so polycystic ovarian syndrome, which they said could hinder it. I'm not sure the doctor I saw at that time was the greatest doctor, because I basically got zero answers. And he said, if you ever want to have kids, you're going to have some sort of intervention. It's not going to ever happen naturally, even though he didn't give us a reason why it wasn't happening naturally. He just basically told us it wasn't going to.
Okay. So yeah, he basically said, this is the course you're going to have to take, but I can't really tell you why.
Right.
Got
Right.
it. Okay.
We were in our mid-20s at the time,
Yeah.
and we were having lots of fun. So we kind of had the talk, and maybe someday we'll do the intervention, but we're not going to worry about it. And so about every 6 months after that, we'd have a discussion, are we going to start trying? And no, we're going to go to Vegas in a few months, or we're partying or going to a concert. It wasn't that big of a concern.
Yeah.
Then when I was 31, so this is, we've been together at that point 14 years, and have been off the pill for about 10 of them.
Got it.
I had a flu that didn't go away. And so I took yet another pregnancy test, like I'd taken a million before that. And suddenly that one was pregnant, or like it was positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
A shock.
Sure. Yeah. So at this point, you had been together for like 14 years. You had been not preventing pregnancy for
10 of it.
10. Yeah. And you're going along, not even really trying. And then suddenly after all of this time,
Pregnant.
pregnant.
Yeah. And it was almost like those movies where it was like, whoa, like I came downstairs and said, here, want to see something we've never seen before? Laugh, not even because we were overly joyous. We just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm pregnant.
Yeah. Was there a little piece of you that was like, forget you, doctor, who told me that I couldn't do this without intervention?
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of it, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of his, and that's why we had never gone any further. I didn't want to go back to him.
Yeah.
We didn't know how far we wanted to go with the interventions, and we were just having a good time with life. So there's that fly.
There's a fly. I have a fly. We've named him Freddie. He likes to fly around and land on me when I'm doing things like recording videos. Anyway, disregard Freddie here.
We just, we hadn't really thought of it. So when it actually happened, it was a big like, oh, maybe if we would have been trying harder earlier, it could have happened earlier. But
Yeah.
What was done was done. I was pregnant and we were happy.
Yeah.
And that pregnancy went fairly standard, like the movies. Towards the end, my blood pressure started to creep up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was nauseous the entire time.
Oof.
All 9 months. There was no, and it wasn't morning sickness. It was all day, and I was tired.
Yeah, they lie about that. They tell you that they call it morning sickness, and then it can happen at any time, and more than just the first 3 months of pregnancy, right?
Yeah. Literally right up until I gave birth, and then suddenly I was fine. Pregnancy is hard. People don't tell you how hard it is to be physically pregnant, and it was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Sick I was the entire time.
Yeah. Another one of those things they don't talk about in the movies too. It's just, they talk about glowing and, all of those things. And then you have perfectly round belly with no stretch marks and all of that, right?
Right. And they don't talk, you hear jokes about the moodiness,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, my husband had to laugh because, I usually can tell people things in a nice, straightforward way, but I dropped the nice. So anyone who had anything to say to me, I basically told them what I thought without even trying to make it sound. But we had a beautiful baby boy on December 8th of 2013 and thrown in, and he was amazing and perfect, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
Because the baby comes and that part's hard, and they don't talk about that either.
Exactly. They don't tell you any of this stuff, trying to get pregnant, pregnancy, what it's like to actually have a newborn baby and not get any sleep and, stress about that you're, potentially going to, like, I don't even know how to take care of this child. What if I hurt it in some way? Yeah.
And meshing your parenting styles, because we'd been together at that point 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everything there could be to known about each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that properly. Anyway, when you become a parent, you start parroting all of the things that were said to you as you were a child. And so we both had amazing, wonderful families, but they were different. So, we were raising our son different. So getting through that was tough on our relationship. And like I said, 14 years in, we're having these issues that I can't imagine couples that get pregnant so early on, they don't know each other so well. It blows my mind how people get through.
Right.
Sorry.
You're fine. You don't have a mystery fly flying around you too, do you?
Scratched something and I'm bleeding a little bit.
Oh, you okay?
I think so. Just tell me if I start welling up or something.
Okay. Okay. No, I don't see anything now, so I think you're okay. I'll keep an eye on it though.
Thank you. Yeah, so sorry.
Yeah.
It was really rough for us. So we knew we wanted more kids, but we gave it a few years after having Ronan before we really started talking about trying again.
Yeah.
So about 3.5 years later,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about it a little bit, but hadn't really decided to go full force. But then again, we had a positive pregnancy test, so we were lucky. You know, it was
Yeah.
just easy. So we were shocked. So that was on a Friday, and we went camping that weekend, and it was miserable and rainy. And on Sunday, I started to bleed, and it was raining. So between the rain and the bleeding, we just went home that night. We were supposed to go, I think we had 2 more days left of the trip, but we just went home. And so I miscarried. It was really early. Like I said, we had just found out on the Friday. I was probably, 5 weeks or something. It was really, really new.
Yeah.
It hurt. It was hard, but it wasn't, at that point, it was, it happens. We knew that it happened in some part of our brain. But what it told us is that we wanted it. Before, it was just kind of a discussion in the midst of other discussions, but that miscarriage made us realize that we wanted it.
Yeah.
So at that point, we decided we were going to start trying. We were doing, I think I downloaded an app, and it was aiming for fertility windows.
Okay. So did it track, was it like a basal body temperature tracker or an ovulation tracker, or?
Yeah, you just plugged in when you got your period.
Okay.
When you were supposed to ovulate.
Gotcha.
I was also on, at that point, metformin.
Okay.
For my PCOS, because prior to Ronan being born, I would get my period. Sometimes it'd be 3 months in between periods.
Gotcha.
So one thing that we had done to kind of help the process was the metformin, and that was supposed to help me keep my weight down and just keep things moving how they're supposed to be moving, make me regular as far as my periods were concerned. It never really got very regular.
Okay.
It did get better after Ronan was born. So the tracker kind of helped, but I don't know if it was ever actually entirely accurate.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, if you have periods that can range, pretty drastically, yeah, it's hard to, get a pattern established and know, okay, I'm going to ovulate on day 14 or 17 or 22 or, if you, So
you had those periods where they knew, but that was never me.
Yeah.
So we ended up pregnant again.
Okay.
Right before Christmas, actually. We must have fallen pregnant. I did a pregnancy test on Christmas morning and it said negative, but I did another one on New Year's morning and it was positive. So I was pregnant. And we were thrilled because that's what we had wanted.
Yeah.
The gap between ages was a little bit wider than we had hoped.
Yeah.
So by that time, Ronan had just turned 4.
Okay.
So he would have been, 4.5 by the time baby was born.
Okay.
So yeah, I was pregnant and it was wonderful and great. And we just knew it was a girl. Every part of us, we knew with Ronan, he was going to be a boy, and every part of us knew this baby was a girl.
Yeah.
It started off kind of not rocky as far as the pregnancy was concerned, but my family doctor wasn't taking pregnancies anymore.
Okay.
And I adored her, so I had to scramble to find another family doctor, and I found someone else that I liked. She was very nice. So I was going with her for a while, and one day in her office, my blood pressure spiked.
Okay.
And so she sent me straight over to the hospital and said, now you're high risk, so I'm going to pass you over to yet another doctor. I was lucky enough to get who I think is probably one of the best OBs in my area. A woman that I absolutely adore.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, he won't leave me alone. Okay.
So I was passed over to this other woman. And like I said, she was wonderful, but it was just a game of being passed around. So we were having to check my blood pressure, and we were watching that. I was going in every week or two at that point. I think I was about 5 or 6 months when that started. Shortly after that, she said I had anemia. And then the last visit that I had with her must have been beginning of July. And she told me I was anemic and that I had gestational diabetes.
Okay.
And said, okay, so next week you're going to go in for a meeting with the gestational diabetes crew. And I said, okay, what do I do in the meantime? And basically nothing, just live with it and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a person who's just going to sit back. So I got the kit and I looked up all the instructions and tried to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
We had a really busy weekend and a really busy week. And the Tuesday night, I said to my husband, I just don't think I've felt it move. I don't think I've felt the baby move. I don't know. Should we go in? And we kind of went back and forth and ultimately didn't go in. And then the Wednesday morning, he had gotten up and gone to work. And I woke up and I said, I gave it the 2 hours to try to do the kick count. And I thought, no. And called him and said, I'm going to go into the hospital. And he said, no, you're not. You're waiting for me. I'm going with you. So he came home from work immediately and we went in with my son. He was with us. Like, we just thought we'd go in and they'd hook me up to a few machines and everything would be fine. And
Sure.
Went in and their nurses kept looking and couldn't find a heartbeat. And they said, is it normal for baby to hide? And I said, no, we've been finding this heartbeat regular since like 11 weeks.
Yeah.
They wouldn't confirm anything and called in my OB and she came running. She was out of breath, came running, and she did the in-room ultrasound on me and baby was gone. So we were given the option of delivering normal vaginally, or she was pushing for that, or the surgery.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The DNC.
No.
You're past that point. Yeah, you were
at 31, almost 32 weeks.
30. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're quite a ways on. So yeah, just like a C-section.
Yeah, or a C-section. Sorry.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted the C-section, but she explained, if you're going to want to have another child and you want to deliver vaginally next time, it might be easier. If you do the C-section, we're going to keep you in here for 2 or 3 days and watch you.
Yeah.
Really, that was the kicker for me was, after this, I just want to go home. And
sure.
So she induced, and so we were in the hospital. We got our own room. It was actually, they treated us really well in the hospital. We got our own room away from everything and my best friend came, spent the whole night or most of the night with us. My mother-in-law came, spent the whole night. My husband was in there. They let him in. The nurses came and went. Basically I just said, give me all the drugs. I don't care at this point. I just don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel the pain. I had enough pain.
Right.
So she was born at 8:00 on July 13th of 2018. A little girl. We named her Nova Lee. She's beautiful, like me, which was amazing because my son looks just like my husband. So
yeah,
it was horrible and wonderful all at the same time. She was beautiful. They took pictures of her. We opted to have her cremated. We buried her with my mom. Had a service for her. The first 2 months were a blur. My husband's was amazing and let him take off a full month. He was basically off with me as we tried to deal with that and work through that. And my son, he's 4 and he knew I was, 7.5, 8, almost 8 months along. Like, he knew what was happening. He was there when they couldn't find the heartbeat. So that was rough on him. So dealing with that as a family. But they call it empty arms. So I had the most empty of arms. My body just needed to do something. And of course my body is, I'm still developing milk. I'm bleeding, like all those normal things, the hormones after giving birth. My body was still doing all of those things, which was the worst part. So we still right away, we want to try harder, just to heal the arms or put something in there. So we went right away. As soon as we got the go ahead from my OB, we started trying again. and found out in December that we were pregnant again. Um, Again, everything was going pretty normal. They put me on baby aspirin, but that's about it. I had fairly frequent appointments and ultrasounds and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so on my husband's birthday, actually, on January 31st, I woke up. And so at that point, I was 12 and a half weeks along, 12 weeks along.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was 12 weeks on the Monday. So 12 and a half weeks along, and woke up and I had gone to work. I cried all the way to work, and I just knew something was wrong. I went and talked to a coworker, and she's dealt with infant loss and baby loss. So she's been a really strong support system for me. And I was upset, and I teach. So it was right before class, and I was saying, oh, I just need to get through this. And I was saying to her, it feels terrible to say it, but if something's going to go wrong, I want it to go wrong now. And she said, no, it's understandable. You've been through horrible things, so it's understandable. The next day we had an ultrasound, and I knew instantly. I said, there's no heartbeat. Of course, she wouldn't confirm it to me. She made me in there for an hour and did an internal exam and did all sorts of other exams. And finally, she got the doctor to come in, and he said, oh, baby's measuring right on target. It's right where it should be for this far along, but there's no fetal heartbeat. Think with that next time.
Right.
So, sometime within the last 24 hours, basically when I woke up and knew this baby had passed. So went through the weekend, and then I saw my doctor was on holidays, so I saw her coworker, and then we did the D&C on Tuesday morning. And that was a month ago, just about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's tough. That's tough.
Been a rough year and a half. We'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to lose someone that far along, and then again to know that you've lost one again. Yeah, I'm so sorry, and I feel for you and your loss in your family. That's not something that you would wish on anybody.
No.
So, yeah.
When I meet other moms who've been through this, or I talk to them because we reach out to talk about this.
Yeah.
Almost all of them say, I'm welcome to the club. I'm so sorry you're part of it.
Yeah.
It recognizes we're all in this together, but I hate that you're here.
Yeah. This is not a club that you want to join. This is, yeah. But you've got that support system and those people that you can lean on who understand exactly what you have been through and what you're experiencing.
Yeah, when I was laboring with Nova, in the back of my head, I knew of two for sure women that I knew had gone through similar situations.
Yeah.
I had suspected, which I was confirmed to me after. They were foremost in my brain. If they can do it, I see them out and about. I see them in public. These women, they're what got me through.
Yeah.
And then after I had her, I reached out to them immediately. And they reached back, and other ones I didn't know who had gone through similar circumstances had reached out to me. And, I kind of made a community of that because they needed to talk about it. I started doing group therapy. My husband and I both went several times, and we'll be going back. We did personal counseling as well. We had to talk about it. We just had to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something like that, you have to be able to feel it and process it and experience all the emotions and everything that go along with that. And you've got to have an environment that's you feel safe and comfortable in doing that.
And people who understand it and know not to say, oh, it was God's plan, or oh, it wasn't meant to be, or, you know, like I get that some of those platitudes really help some people, but when you're in the midst of it, that's really hard to hear those kind of things. And I know they're just trying to help, but people who've been there or who have gone through it, they don't say those things. You know, they just, wow, that this sucks. Like they
Yeah.
don't even make you feel better because there's nothing. And that's the best thing that people who hadn't been through it could say to us was, I don't even know what to say,
Yeah.
because they recognize there's nothing they can say. And that was the thing that felt like, yeah, you're right, you don't know what to say, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know what to say, but
Yeah,
I'm here, and, you know, I support you and want to be here for you as best I can,
exactly.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it really showed us. I mean, a lot of people say when they go through things like that they lose friends or family members, and we were lucky. Everyone rallied for us. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Nobody, you know, there was a few that maybe didn't quite get it, but they tried. So there wasn't any sense of anyone trying to invalidate us or, oh, get over it or anything like that. Everyone was
Right.
for us. We were lucky. I know not everyone gets that, so we counted our blessings of the people that we were surrounded with.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's amazing to have be supported by your family and close friends, and to know that you can lean on them in a situation like this. And did you feel like you were able to kind of strengthen some of those bonds with family or friends through
Oh,
that process?
definitely. I mean, my mother-in-law, we've always been close, but
Mhm.
her showing up that day and just staying at that hospital through, like, she was a rock.
Mm,
You know, we've never had a bad relationship. She's always been wonderful, but man, she was our rock. She got us through that. When it hurt too much to hold Nova, she held for us.
yeah. Mm, that's amazing. That's amazing. And to have that in a mother-in-law too, right? Like, most people are like, I don't like my mother-in-law, or, you know, she needs to go away and do her own thing. But to have someone who can support you so wholly in the moment that you need it is
Yeah.
incredible. So,
Yeah. And, you know, my friends all reacted different. You know, some were effusive and others not quite so much. But even the ones who weren't so effusive were still weeks later texting to check in or just showing up. You know, people made us a bunch of food, which was really helpful, because at that point, if it weren't for my son, I would have just curled up, and, you know, I probably wouldn't have done anything drastic. But if I were left to my own devices, I probably would have maybe ate peas or something, you know, like a can of
right.
once a week or something.
Exactly. Because, yeah, when you're going through a time like that, like, preparing food is one of the last things that you're thinking about.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So um, it was really helpful for them, you know, to rally together like that. And they were really thoughtful in their visits. There was a few times where a bunch would show up at once, or then one here or one there. Some days they'd say, you know, we're just going to leave you alone for the day, or, like, it was really good. Yeah, we were lucky.
Good. So, what do you have any advice you have for people who have experienced a loss like this, or friends or family of someone who's experienced a loss? Any words of advice or anything that you would say?
Um, the most important thing to me is for them to know they're not alone, and that it's more common than they think.
Yeah.
Um, People don't realize, you know, like I knew of a few women,
Mm-hmm.
and most of that was just through the grapevine. But it had never been spoken about to me. And I'm thankful I knew about those women who had gone through it. And I've kind of made it my mission to talk about it. You know, it's not something that's going to go away in my life ever. It's not something that I forget about. So I'm so comfortable talking about it. And it's important for me to do that in the worst case scenario that someone who's listening ends up part of that terrible club, right?
Right.
I don't want anyone to be a part of it. I hope nobody ever gets anything about me talking about it. But if anyone ever is going through it and thinks, okay, she did it, I can, or, you know, okay, well, I'm going to reach out to her when this is over so we can, you know, just sit with her because she gets it or what have you. That's important to me. And for anyone going through any of it, you know, not being able to conceive in the first place hurts when friends all around you are throwing out babies, it feels like, left and right.
Yeah, right?
um, and you know, that alone hurts enough, and people feel like they can't talk about that because it makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think we should talk about it, and we should talk about what happens when you do conceive and the worst things happen. That stuff needs to be talked about. Otherwise, when it does happen, so you're not lost floating somewhere. I was really lucky because my hospital seemed to know how to deal with these situations, but I know not all hospitals are like that. We had a special grief counselor assigned right to us. We had nurses assigned to us. We had food and snacks from the hospital brought into our room, so we never had to leave for any reason. Like we were treated well, and even the follow-up was impeccable. So I don't know how anyone would deal with that if they didn't have a hospital that thoughtful and caring, or didn't have that support group behind them. We need to talk about it more so that other people who are going through it or who will eventually go through it know that it's not taboo.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing about fertility or infertility and um, pregnancy loss, infant loss, is that there's this, it's hidden behind this screen, this stigma of, it's something that you're not supposed to talk about. But what I've discovered, and which kind of prompted this whole video series, is that when you actually talk about it, that's when you find your support. You find those other people who have been through it too and can relate to you and support you and help you through those tough times. And just talking about it and educating others about how prevalent it is, then it makes it easier to even discuss these things with people who haven't experienced this. And it makes that relation easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell your story to people who aren't flinching away and who aren't looking away because it's too hard for them to hear it. It's hard for anyone to hear it, but other people who've been through it, they can still look at you in the eyes and tell you it's hard to hear it, but they want to hear more, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of support and you've been able to put words to it with people who understand, it's easier then to take it to people who don't understand and be able to put more words to it and be able to help them to understand where you're at and what you're doing. I don't as often, but at first on Facebook, I shared a fair bit of, you know, articles from different websites and groups that really resonated with me. And, you know, I might have annoyed some people who didn't want to hear about it, but I had a lot of people respond right on the article or by private messaging me saying, you know, I haven't been through this, but it makes me feel so much better to know what you're going through and see things from this perspective of what you're going through. And heaven forbid I ever know someone else, now I'm going to get it more.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, one of her cousin had gone through it, and she's the one who directed me to some of these different places and said, you know, I have an idea just because of what my cousin's gone through of what you're going to be dealing with. So she was able to help me in that way, even though she'd never dealt with it on herself, thankfully. So,
Yeah.
you know, that was really important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just educating people and showing them what it's like and how this affects people who are experiencing it, just so that they can be that supportive person when and if they have someone in their lives that's going through this too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So are there any specific groups or anything that you would recommend? Where have you found your support network? Like, is it local for you, or have you found online support, or where do you turn?
Locally,
Mm-hmm.
like we have a really great community where I'm at. on a whole bunch of different levels. Like when I first had my son, we had a really supportive motherhood community, new mom community, and the hospital was super supportive. But then even after, we had my support group, it's called Hearts in our area,
Okay.
and the local chapters. And so the support group itself was great. There's a doula in our area who she put together a wave of light for babies who've been stillborn or, pregnancy loss. And that was amazing. And there seems to be a really tight-knit community that I'm finding locally.
Okay.
Online on Facebook, there is a still mothers group, or several still mothers groups that I joined. Some I had to leave. Some of them are, trying to conceive groups and things like that, which after I lost this pregnancy were just too painful to be a part of.
Yeah.
Right now we're just going to give it a break for a while before we decide what to do next. We do want another child, but now, even if I got pregnant tomorrow, my son will be 6. I know people have bigger gaps than that and are perfectly fine. Is that what we want to do? I don't know. We're just being right now, and then we'll decide where we want to go from there after. There's several different pages that I follow on Facebook. Now I'm drawing a blank on all of them. But you kind of find one, and then you get linked to other ones. And,
Sure.
yeah, so just a lot of articles. I think it's Still Mothers that posts a lot of the articles that I really find resonate with me. Different communities like that. It's interesting when your eyes are open to it, how much of it you actually see that before you might not have connected, or you see a picture that you automatically, oh, wow, I know exactly what that picture is depicting, but you might not have caught it before.
Right.
Little things that people say that you just catch that you wouldn't have caught before, that, oh, they've lost a baby, but they didn't outright say that, but you catch that. It's
right.
It's everywhere, but nobody's saying it. So it's,
Yeah.
I want to say it.
Yes. Thank you for sharing your story and speaking out about it. And I know that just in doing so is going to help bring a lot of comfort and support to other women and other couples who have experienced this as well. So thank you so much for being willing to open up and share your story in this way, so that you can help build that community and that support and awareness around loss. So thank you for that. Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to say before we finish up today?
Oh, probably, but I can't think of it. List of things I was going to say until I sat down today.
Yeah. Yes. But first of all, just having people know that they're not alone, that there are thousands of people out there who have experienced something similar to what they've experienced.
More than they know. They say 1 in 4, and that's pregnancies that they know about, right? How many were early?
Right.
If I hadn't taken that, my first miscarriage, if I hadn't taken that test on the Friday, I would have just got my period on the Sunday and never known the difference, right?
Right.
So how many like that? And then, on top of that 1 in 4, there's all different timelines of life, and that's not to say any are greater or less than any of the other ones, but there's even I fell into it with this pregnancy. 12 weeks passed and I was like, whew, sigh of relief, knowing full well we lost Nova at almost 32 weeks. I know that's not, there is a drop, but it doesn't mean we are safe. And I think that was one of the most shocking things, or one of the hardest things to really comprehend, that it can happen anytime.
Right.
In the support group that I went to, there's all different stages of pregnancy that were lost.
Yeah.
And another mom had lost a baby at, I believe, 27 weeks. Went on to deliver her next baby at 29 weeks, and he's fine.
Yeah.
So every pregnancy is different, every time is different, and maybe we'll get a chance to have one go
Right.
that way.
Yeah. I mean, so many times we get caught up in the statistics of things. Your likelihood of miscarriage drops at 12 weeks. So everyone waits until 12 weeks and they think, whew, I've made it past that point. I'm safe.
Yeah.
I can announce everything. And then with conceiving too, we have all of these statistics of a percentage of people who get pregnant in the first year. Your ability to get pregnant decreases with age, and we have all of these statistics going on that we're allowing to dictate how we view our current situation in life. And what we forget about is that we're all people, and we're not statistics. We're all individuals with completely different experiences and completely different stories. And while there's some validity to the statistics that are out there, that's why they're there, but you have to know that your own experience is going to be your experience alone, and it's not going to be the same as anybody else's. And we kind of get caught up with this comparison of, well, what does my life look like compared to somebody else? And we forget that we're on our own path, and life plays out, uniquely for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's going to fall. Well, someone must fall specifically right in that statistic, but
Right.
people don't.
Right. Exactly. They don't say that 100% of miscarriages happen in the first
Right.
trimester, right? They don't say 100% of pregnancies occur within the first year of trying to conceive.
Right.
Yeah, there's your own story, your own journey is your own, and it's not going to look the same as anybody else. And if we can, I guess, recognize that in ourselves, and kind of, I don't want to say, like, own our piece of the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it releases some of that expectation that we put on ourselves, as far as if we're doing well or if we're not doing well, or if we're where we're supposed to be, or is someone going to judge us for the way things turned out for us.
Right.
Yeah. All right. And the other thing that you talked about is talking to people. So find your tribe of people, your support group, and talking about it. Just talking about it allows you to bring in those people that understand what you're going through, and you can connect with, and deal with all the things that come with that in a supportive way that's going to help you through the process.
Yeah, for Nova, we had just a small graveside burial for her. We didn't have a whole big funeral or anything, but we had 35 friends and family show up. And we didn't extend that invitation very big. We just kind of kept it small, but people wanted to be there, wanted to support us, wanted to hear about it, wanted to see her pictures, wanted to hear about my experience. So it was helpful, and it helped me. It helped us to talk about her, and it helped us even this last miscarriage. Both of us, it was my husband's birthday, so we had people over the next night, and we talked about it because that's what was going on, and that's where we were at, and everyone welcomed it, and it was wonderful.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Sunni, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, and it's so encouraging to have your perspective and your experience, so that it can, like you said, it can reach those people who understand what pregnancy loss, infant loss looks like, or those who know someone who's experienced that as well.
Well, thank
But
you for letting.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.